Hello everybody, Nick here at Kraft Music with the Waldorf Quantum. The Quantum is a digital analog hybrid flagship synthesizer from Waldorf that is the most powerful synthesizer in the current Waldorf lineup. And it has a ton of amazing features that make it the perfect synth for film scoring, sound design, and a whole host of other applications. The Quantum is an 8-voice digital analog hybrid synthesizer where the oscillators are stereo digital oscillators for each of the 8 voices, and there are 3 of them per voice. And the filter section is a dual analog filter per voice with an additional digital former, which acts as a digital filter with a bunch of different models from Waldorf's software as well as hardware synthesizers. And all of that can be accessed via the onboard touchscreen, which can be used to change things like the filter cutoff or the routing of the filters, and of course, the wavetables on the wavetable engine. Quantum's modulation section is similarly impressive, with 3 front panel LFOs, an additional 3 LFOs in the menus, 6 loopable envelopes, 3 of which are accessed on the front panel, and then the complex modulator, which is a function generator which can do everything from one-shots to looping functions to introducing entropy and randomness into your patches. All of these modulation sources can be routed to any of Quantum's modulation destinations simply by accessing the modulation matrix, which has up to 40 mod assignments which can be accessed via the touchscreen. Navigating on Quantum is super easy. You can use the buttons at the top to jump to different sections. For example, I'm an oscillator, but I want to go to LFO. Or you can use the knobs on any of the sections to jump right back to that section. See, I've moved the position knob on the oscillator section, and now I'm back in the wavetable engine. Quantum's oscillator section contains 3 oscillators per voice, each of which can be 1 out of 4 stereo digital engines. The engines include a wavetable engine, where you can access classic Waldorf wavetables, control the spectrum using the touchscreen, or you can create your own wavetables using external audio, or type in a phrase and let the speech synth create a wavetable for you. So I've typed in Kraft Music into the speech synthesis engine to create a wavetable based on Kraft Music, the phrase. And now what I can do is go to global cycle so that all of the notes will be cycling at the same time on the wavetable, and then change the travel speed to a little less than a second so I can cycle through that wavetable. The second engine available in Quantum's oscillator section is the Waveform engine. And that gives you all of your classic waveforms from analog modeled synthesis, such as a typical saw wave, which you can sync, or a square wave, which you can pulse width modulate using the LFO. And I'll show you how to do that. It's very simple. You simply hit mod and select a destination. So in this case, I'm going to go to warp, which controls the pulse width modulation. And then I'm going to go to amount on LFO 1. And so a modulation assignment has been created on the mod matrix. And I can change the speed of that. And now we've created a mod assignment, and I can use the LFO to modulate the pulse width in real time. Other waveforms in the waveform engine include sine, triangle, pink noise, and white noise. And of course, all of the aspects of those oscillator waveforms can be modulated. The next oscillator engine is the particle engine, and this one is incredibly exciting because it's audio-based. So this can be either audio-based or granular synthesis. And right now I just have a simple chord that I've mapped across the keybed, but you can do multiple different things with the particle engine, including regular or granular synthesis. And now I've created a modulation assignment modulating the jitter of the particle engine using LFO number 2. The last engine that's available is the Resonator engine, which uses an exciter and a series of comb filter models to mimic both real-world resonant instruments and conceptual ones. So the way that works is you have the comb filter models, and you can change those to have different harmonics, and then you can turn up the exciter, and then change the Q of the various comb filter models. And of course, you can change the amount of repeats and the spread between those repeats. Waldorf's analog filters are well known in the world of synthesizers, and there are 2 of them per voice on the Quantum. In addition, there's the digital former, which can act as a filter model and contains models from all of Waldorf's software synths, or a comb filter, a bit crusher, or a distortion unit. The routing of all these can be changed, of course, in the routing section in the menus. And you can change the analog signal path of the Quantum to have the analog filters before the digital former, or the former before the analog filters. So let's hear some of those filter sweeps. I currently have a Prophet style pad pulled up on the Quantum. My favorite part is that you can drag the screen to actually change the cutoff and resonance. And you can change the filter model to have two analog filters going at once in parallel. In the routing screen, you'll notice 5 separate effects engines that can be routed to either of the 2 timbres that are currently loaded on Quantum. And those timbres can be either splits or layers or any number of different configurations. On the back panel of Quantum, there's an audio input which is used to route audio into Quantum for any number of different uses, as well as 2 stereo outputs, one of which is the main output, and the other is an aux output, which a secondary timbre can be routed to. In the effects section, each effects engine can be an EQ, a drive, chorus, flanger, phaser, delay, reverb, or an EQ, and there's also a compressor knob right next to the master volume to allow you to compress your whole mix. Now, I mentioned the complex modulator a little bit before, and it's incredibly deep in its modulation possibilities because not only can you route it to anywhere, just like Quantum's LFOs and envelopes, you can also use it to introduce random variables into your sounds. So, for example, if I turn up the entropy, I have a more random source that I can use to modulate any of Quantum's parameters. I can even draw in my own modulation curve. And add or subtract stages to make more or less complicated curves. Then I can bring that back and introduce entropy into the curve that I've created from scratch. And of course, aspects of your modulation sources can be modulated by other modulators. For example, I can modulate the speed of one LFO with another one. There's an on-panel glide function where you have a knob that can control the rate as well as the type of glide and turn it on or off, pitch and mod wheels, and of course, the key bed is a 61-key Fatar with velocity and aftertouch. There's also a latch and ARP function, and the ARP function also functions as a 32-step sequencer. So if I turn on the ARP and I go into the sequencer mode, I can enter in a string of up to 32 notes, and then I can change those notes, for example, from the touch screen after I've recorded a sequence. Quantum has 4 gigabytes of internal flash memory as well as an SD card slot, so you can load external sounds and update your firmware. There's also USB in and out, so you can connect to a computer or plug into Quantum to use it as a USB host with an external controller. Of course, there's 5-pin MIDI in, out, and through. Quantum ships with hundreds and hundreds of presets designed by voicing experts from around the world in areas such as sound design, film scoring, and studio production. So that's the Waldorf Quantum, a digital analog hybrid flagship synth from Waldorf that is the culmination of decades of development. For more information, contact Kraft Music by phone, email, or live chat. Thanks so much for watching.